Continuing our study throughout the Sefer of Yacob, and we are now in Berachot. We're on page 27 in the Sefer Yacob, and we're looking at the sayings of the rabbis. When Rabbi Yochanan finished the book of Yacob, he used to say, "The end of man is to die, and the end of animals to be slaughtered. All are destined to die. Happy is a person who was brought up in Torah environment, who exerts himself, who exerts himself to study Torah, who gives pleasure to his Creator, and who grew up with a good name and left the world with a good name, as Yacob did." Solomon had a man like mind when he said, "A good name is better than fragrant oil, and the day of death than the day of birth." Ecclesiastic 7:1. Rabbi Meir was in the habit of saying, "Put your heart and soul into learning my ways, the study of Torah for its own sake, and watch at the door of my Torah, studying with a single-minded determination, and guard my Torah in your heart, and keep my fear before your eyes." Now keep understanding, according to Proverbs 17, we learn by Solomon that Hashem tests our hearts. He purifies to see if our study matches our walk, and in fact that we have true intention, true kavanah in that area. Now it says here, "My Torah is in your heart, and keep my fear before your eyes. Keep your mouth from all sins, and cleanse and sanctify yourself from all sins and transgressions, and I will be with you wherever you are." This is one of the reasons why we are to be watchguards over all the orifices that Hashem put in us. Our eyes, so what we see; our ears, so what we hear, all the Lashon Hara, we should keep that out. Our mouth, what we put into it and what comes out of it. What we smell, everything that has orifices, we are to put a safety guard over them to make sure it does not affect us, because everything that goes into these orifices can affect our soul and eventually harm us. Rabbi Meir was in the habit of saying, "Put your heart and soul into learning my ways, and watch at the door of my Torah. My Torah is in your heart, and keep my fear before your eyes, and keep your mouth from sin," one of the orifices. "Cleanse and sanctify yourself from all sins and transgressions, and I will be with you wherever you go." The rabbis of Yavne used to say the following adage: "I am a Torah scholar, and I am God's creation, and my neighbor who is unlearned laborer is also God's creation. My work in the city, in the Beit HaMikdash, and my neighbor's work out in the field. I get up early for my work and get up early for his work. Just as he does not interfere with my work, so do I not encroach on his work." Now you might say that I'm accomplishing such much more by studying Torah, and he is accomplishing much less. Therefore we learn it makes no difference whether you do a lot or a little, as long as you are doing it for the sake of heaven. And we find that in Manot and another portion in Talmud. Abaya was wont to say the following: "A person should always be cunning and devising new strategies to improve his fear of heaven." Imagine being creative in your Yirat HaShamayim. A gentle response, it says here. It says new strategies to improve his fear of heaven. Another thing is to remember is a gentle response, allays wrath. That's in Mishle 15:1 or Proverbs 15:1. And you should do your best to be on good terms with your brothers, with your relatives, and with all men, even with the heathen, the pagan in the street. In other words, the ways of the Torah is ways of peace, not contention and strife. That way you will be loved in heaven above, while like below in this world, and respected by people. It was said about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai that no one ever greeted him first. He even greeted the heathens in the streets. Rabbi Yochanan always was the first to offer greetings. Hello, good morning, Shabbat Shalom. We should be in that same mood. Rabbi was also known in following the goal of Torah wisdom is that we should lead to it, to repentance, to good deeds, so that a person should not study Torah Mishnah and become proud of his knowledge, and then despise his father and mother and his teacher, even though those are superior to him in wisdom, and outnumber him as it says. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of God, meaning that you start learning, and your objective should always be to attain the fear of God. All who do God's commandments gain sound understanding. Psalms 111, verse 10. It doesn't say all who study God's commands gain sound understanding, but all who do God's commands. In other words, the Jewish people, one of the things that describes them are doers, not just talkers or listeners. Doers, meaning all who do the command for the sake of God, but not those who do the commands for ulterior motives. Namely, in order to criticize and dispute its teaching. It's better if he had not even been created. Rav was in the good habit, of saying the following: the world to come is not like this world. In the world to come, there is no eating, or drinking, or procreation, or business, nor jealousy, or hatred, or competition, but the righteous sits with their crowns on their heads, and they should derive pleasure from the radiance of the Shekinah, as it says. They, the 70 elders of Israel, had a vision of the divine, and they ate and drank. Exodus 24, verse 11. Not in a physical sense, but the spiritual delight that they derive from the radiance of the divine presence is compared to the pleasures of eating and drinking. I want to say this again of what Rob said was in the habit of saying. The world to come is not like this world. In the world to come, there is no eating or drinking or procreation or business, no jealousy or hatred or competition, but the righteous sits with their crowns. In other words, this saying was well imbued in the first century, where another Jewish man that others formed a religion around him said the same thing. So really there's nothing new under the sun, as we learned today. The sayings of the rabbis was all the way back, even before the first century, and is still today being heard and listened to through different means and different ways. Wish you a lot of bracha and hatzlacha this week. Shalom Aleichem.